The strange thing about destiny is that sometimes it finds you long before you can see it coming. The rain tapped softly against my umbrella as I made my way down West 47th Street, counting every step the way I always did. 12 steps past the coffee shop, 8 more past the newspaper stand, then a right turn at the corner where the sidewalk changed from smooth concrete to rough brick. Most people thought being blind meant living in darkness. They were wrong. My world was full of sounds, textures, scents, and rhythms. I knew this neighborhood better than many people who could see it. I knew the bakery 2 blocks away by the smell of fresh cinnamon rolls drifting through the air. I knew the florist by the scent of roses that lingered near the entrance even after closing time. I knew when the traffic light changed because of the subtle shift in the city's heartbeat. That night felt different. I noticed it immediately. The city sounded quieter, tighter somehow, like everyone was holding their breath. I tightened my grip on my white cane and continued toward the subway entrance. My piano performance at the community center had ended later than expected, and the rain had driven most people indoors. Usually that would have made me nervous, but I had walked this route hundreds of times. I knew every crack in the pavement, every curb, every familiar sound. Then I heard engines. Not one, several. Expensive ones. The low hum of powerful vehicles slowing somewhere ahead. A few footsteps followed. Heavy, coordinated, disciplined. Not tourists, not office workers. The kind of footsteps that moved with purpose. I tried to ignore it. New York was full of strange moments. Most of them had nothing to do with me. But then the atmosphere shifted again. Conversations stopped. A taxi slowed. Even the rain seemed quieter. My pulse quickened. I couldn't explain why. Sometimes instinct notices things before logic catches up. I adjusted my umbrella and kept walking. The wind suddenly changed direction. A sharp gust pushed against me harder than expected. My cane slipped slightly against the wet pavement. My foot caught the edge of a curb I hadn't anticipated. For one embarrassing second, I lost my balance. I reached forward automatically, searching for anything solid. Instead, I walked directly into someone. My shoulder struck a firm chest. My umbrella tilted sideways. My cane slipped from my hand and clattered against the sidewalk. "Oh my gosh," I gasped. "I'm so sorry." The words came out immediately. They always did. Years of accidents had trained me well. But the apology disappeared into complete silence. Not normal silence. Not city silence. Absolute silence. The kind that feels impossible in Manhattan. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The rain continued falling, but everything else stopped. Confused, I bent slightly, trying to locate my cane. Before I could search for it, a hand picked it up. Strong, steady, careful. The cane was placed gently into my palm. No words followed. Just silence. I became aware of something else then. The faint scent of cedarwood and rain. Expensive cologne. Beneath that, another detail. The quiet rustle of expensive fabric. A tailored coat, perhaps. Whoever stood in front of me hadn't stepped away. He remained there. Watching. Waiting. I could feel it. "I'm really sorry," I repeated softly. "I didn't mean to bump into you." Still nothing. The silence around us only grew heavier. Then, somewhere nearby, I heard someone inhale sharply. Another person whispered something under their breath. Fear. Respect. Maybe both. I frowned. None of it made sense. Why was everyone acting so strangely? Why did it feel like the entire street had frozen? And why did the man standing in front of me feel suddenly familiar? Then, for the first time, he spoke. His voice was low, calm, controlled. Yet beneath it was something I couldn't identify. Something that sounded almost impossible. Recognition. One single word left his lips. Butterfly. And in that moment, although I had never seen his face, I knew my life had just changed forever. I stood there gripping my cane so tightly that my knuckles hurt. Butterfly. The word echoed through my mind. Not because it was threatening. Not because it was strange. Because somehow it felt personal. Familiar. Like hearing a song you had forgotten years ago. The rain continued to fall around us. Cars moved in the distance. Yet nobody near me seemed willing to make a sound. Finally, I swallowed and forced myself to speak. "Do you know me?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. For a moment, I thought he would not answer. Then I heard a slow breath. "No," he said quietly. At least, I did not think I did. His voice carried the kind of calm confidence that made people listen. Not loud, not demanding, just certain. Around us, footsteps shifted uneasily. Someone nearby cleared his throat. Another person moved closer before stopping again. Whoever this man was, everyone seemed to be waiting for his next word. I think you have mistaken me for someone else, I said. It seemed like the logical explanation. Blind people were easy to confuse. Most strangers never remembered us. We were simply faces in a crowd. But his answer came immediately. No, just one word. Firm. Certain. Something about it made my heart beat faster. Then another voice spoke from somewhere to my left. Male. Professional. Respectful. Sir, the car is ready. The reaction was instant. The atmosphere tightened again. Even without seeing anything, I could feel attention shifting toward the man standing in front of me. Yet he ignored whoever had spoken. What is your name? He asked. I hesitated. Normally, I would never give personal information to a stranger on a dark Manhattan street. But something about his tone made lying impossible. Claire Bennett. Silence followed. A long silence. Too long. Then I heard him take a slow breath. The kind people take when they are trying to absorb something important. Claire, he repeated. Not like he was learning it. Like he was remembering it. My stomach tightened. Have we met before? I asked. I do not know, he replied. That answer confused me even more. Before I could ask another question, a sudden gust of wind swept through the street. Rain splashed across my face. Instinctively, I stepped backward. My heel slipped slightly on the wet sidewalk. Immediately, a hand touched my elbow. Gentle, steady, guiding me back into balance. The contact lasted less than a second before disappearing. Yet somehow it felt strangely protective. Careful, he said. The pavement is slick. I almost laughed. That is usually my line. For the first time, something changed in his voice. Not quite amusement. Not quite surprise. Something softer. I imagine it is. The silence that followed felt different now. Less tense. Less frightening. Then another sound reached my ears. A phone vibrating. Someone approaching quickly. Sir, the same professional voice said. We need to leave. Whoever the man was, people clearly did not tell him what to do very often. Yet after a few seconds, he finally responded. 1 minute. Rain tapped against my umbrella. My pulse refused to settle. I still had no idea who stood in front of me. But every instinct told me this encounter mattered. Somehow. Some way. Claire, he said again. Do you play piano? The question hit me so unexpectedly that I froze. Very few people knew that. My performances were small. Community centers. Local events. Charity programs. Nothing famous. Nothing important. How do you know that? I whispered. No answer came. Instead, I heard movement. Fabric shifting. Footsteps turning away. Wait, I called. Who are you? The street fell silent once more. Then his voice reached me from several feet away. Calm. Controlled. Unforgettable. Damien Moretti. The reaction around us was immediate. Several people inhaled sharply. Someone dropped something metal onto the sidewalk. And for the first time that night, fear brushed against my heart. Because even I had heard that name before. The sound of those two words stayed with me all the way home. Damien Moretti. Even if you lived in New York and avoided the news the way I did, you heard that name eventually. People spoke it carefully, quietly, like saying it too loudly might somehow attract attention. I had never paid much attention to rumors. Rumors did not help pay rent. Rumors did not help me navigate subway platforms, or perform piano concerts, or buy groceries. Yet as I rode the train downtown that night, I could not stop thinking about him. More specifically, I could not stop thinking about that single word. Butterfly. Why had he said it? Why had he sounded so certain? And how had he known I played piano? The questions followed me into my apartment. My building was old and tired, but I loved it. The radiator hissed every winter. The elevator worked only when it felt generous. The hallway always smelled faintly of coffee and laundry detergent. It felt safe, familiar, predictable, exactly what I needed. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it for a moment. Rain tapped softly against the window. Somewhere above me, a neighbor was watching television too loudly. Normal sounds. Normal life. Yet my heartbeat still felt uneven. I changed into comfortable clothes and made tea. Chamomile. My favorite. The warm mug rested between my hands as I sat beside the window. I could not see the city lights outside, but I liked imagining them. Thousands of people living thousands of different lives. Most of them would never meet. Most of them would never matter to each other. So why did it feel like my life had somehow shifted tonight? The answer never came. Eventually, exhaustion won. I fell asleep on the couch sometime after midnight. Then came the dream. It was strange because I rarely dreamed in images. My memories worked differently. Sounds, emotions, fragments. Yet this dream felt unusually vivid. I heard laughter, a child's laughter, a boy's voice, then my own, younger, softer. Somewhere nearby, wind chimes moved in a summer breeze. I could smell fresh grass. Sunshine warmed my skin. Someone was crying. Not loudly, quietly, like they did not want anyone to notice. Then I heard my own voice. Small and innocent. Butterflies always come back. The dream ended instantly. I sat upright on the couch, breathing hard. The room was dark. My tea sat cold on the table. The digital clock on the microwave announced it was 3:17 in the morning. My pulse raced. The sentence echoed inside my head. Butterflies always come back. I had no idea where it came from. No memory attached to it. No explanation. Yet somehow it felt important. I tried to sleep again. I failed. By morning I had convinced myself the entire thing was meaningless. A coincidence. A weird dream caused by stress. Nothing more. After breakfast, I grabbed my cane and prepared for my usual Saturday performance at the Community Arts Center. Life had to continue. Bills did not care about mysterious strangers or strange dreams. I stepped outside. The rain had stopped. Fresh air filled the street. Everything felt normal again, until I reached the corner and heard someone call my name. Miss Bennett. I stopped immediately. A man approached. Professional voice. Polite. Familiar somehow. Yes. I asked cautiously. I have a delivery for you. My stomach tightened. A delivery? Yes, ma'am. A brief pause followed. Then he added the words that made my heart skip. From Mr. Moretti. My first instinct was to refuse. People like Damien Moretti did not send deliveries to people like me. Those two worlds were not supposed to overlap. Yet curiosity rooted me to the sidewalk. What is it? I asked. The man shifted slightly. I could hear the rustle of a suit jacket. A package, ma'am. That does not really answer my question. For a moment, I thought he might laugh. Instead, his voice softened. I was instructed not to open it. I sighed. Of course he was. Nothing about this situation felt normal anymore. Fine, I said. You can hand it to me. A rectangular box was placed carefully into my hands. It was not heavy, maybe 3 or 4 pounds. The surface felt smooth. Expensive. I traced the edges with my fingertips. There was a card attached to the top. Would you like me to read it? The man asked. Please. Paper unfolded. Then he read, For the girl who still follows music instead of fear. My breath caught. That was it. No signature. No explanation. Just one sentence. Somehow that made it worse. Thank you, I said quietly. Have a nice day. You too, Miss Bennett. His footsteps disappeared into the morning crowd. I stood there for several seconds holding the package. Part of me wanted to leave it behind. Another part needed answers. Curiosity won. The Community Arts Center was only a few blocks away. I carried the box with me the entire walk. My friend Rachel was already inside when I arrived. Claire, she called. You are late. I know. And judging by your voice, something happened. Rachel had known me for 6 years. Hiding things from her was nearly impossible. 30 minutes later, she had the entire story. Every strange detail. The rain. The encounter. The mysterious word. The delivery. Silence followed. Then she spoke very carefully. You met Damien Moretti? Apparently. And now he is sending you gifts? Apparently. Claire. I know. No, I do not think you do. She lowered her voice. People spend years trying to get 5 minutes of that man's attention. I never asked for it. That is what worries me. Her words followed me throughout the performance. Usually the piano quieted my thoughts. Usually every note created order from chaos. Not today. Every melody seemed connected to the same question. Why me? After the concert ended, I packed my things and finally opened the box. The room fell completely silent. Claire, Rachel whispered. What? You are not going to believe this. My fingers touched polished wood. Smooth curves. Familiar keys. I froze. Rachel. It is a piano. My heart skipped. What? Not a keyboard. Not a practice model. A real baby grand piano. The room spun. I reached out carefully. My fingertips found the elegant shape. The craftsmanship. The impossible reality. That cannot be right. Trust me. It is right. I sat down slowly. My hands hovered above the keys. Then I played a single note. The sound was beautiful. Rich. Warm. Perfect. Better than anything I had ever touched. Better than anything I could ever afford. Suddenly the room felt too small, too quiet, too overwhelming. Why would he do this? I whispered. Nobody answered. Because nobody knew. Yet somewhere across the city, I could not shake the feeling that Damien Moretti already had. For the next 3 days, I tried to convince myself that the piano changed nothing. It sat in the community arts center exactly where the delivery team had placed it. Beautiful, impossibly expensive, completely out of place in our modest building. Every time I touched the keys, I thought about him. Every time I heard a note ring through the room, I remembered that calm voice speaking my name as if he had known it forever. Rachel noticed it too. "You are thinking about him again," she said one afternoon. "I am thinking about the fact that a stranger bought a piano worth more than my apartment. A very specific stranger." I groaned. "Rachel." She laughed. "I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking." The truth was that everybody seemed to be talking about it. Not about Damien directly. Nobody ever said his name casually. But people whispered. They speculated. They wondered why someone with limitless resources would take an interest in a blind piano player from Queens. I wondered the same thing. The answer never came. Instead, more strange things began happening. On Thursday morning, my landlord called. "Claire, there appears to be a mistake." My stomach immediately tightened. "What kind of mistake?" "Your rent." "What about it?" Silence followed. Papers shuffled. "It has been paid." I blinked. "Paid? 6 months in advance." My heart stopped. That cannot be right. I thought the same thing. He paused. "The payment cleared this morning." By lunchtime, I learned my utility bill had also been paid. The following day, the arts center director informed me that an anonymous donor had fully funded next season's music program. By Saturday, I no longer believed in coincidences. Someone was quietly rearranging my entire life. And I knew exactly who that someone was. The problem was that I had no way to stop him. I never saw him, never heard from him, never received another card. Yet somehow his presence lingered everywhere. Then came Saturday evening. My performance had just ended. The audience slowly filtered toward the exits. Conversations echoed through the lobby. Applause still rang faintly in my ears. I was packing sheet music when a little girl approached me. She could not have been older than 8. "Miss Claire?" she asked shyly. "Yes." "A man asked me to give this to you." Paper rustled. She placed an envelope into my hand. "What man?" I asked. "The tall one." Not exactly helpful. "What did he look like?" The little girl lowered her voice dramatically. Everybody kept staring at him. Then she ran away before I could ask anything else. My pulse quickened. Slowly, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper. No signature. No explanation. Just an address written in elegant handwriting. Nothing else. I ran my fingers across the page. "What is it?" Rachel asked. "An address." "Whose address?" I think we both know the answer to that. The room suddenly felt very quiet. Outside, evening rain had begun tapping softly against the windows. Rachel exhaled. "Claire, I know. You are not actually thinking about going there, are you?" I folded the paper carefully and slipped it into my purse. Because the truth was, despite every warning my common sense tried to give me, despite every reason I should have walked away, one question had become impossible to ignore. Why did Damien Moretti seem to remember someone I could not remember being? The address stayed in my purse for 2 days. 2 very long days. I carried it everywhere. To the grocery store. To rehearsals. To the coffee shop downstairs from my apartment. Every time my fingers brushed against the folded paper, the same argument started inside my head. Ignore it. Forget it. Walk away. Yet the questions refused to leave me alone. On Monday afternoon, curiosity finally won. "I am going," I told Rachel. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted 3 full seconds. "You are serious?" "I need answers." "Claire, normal people send text messages. Normal people do not buy baby grand pianos either." She sighed heavily. "At least promise me one thing." "What?" "If anything feels wrong, you leave immediately." "Deal." An hour later, I stepped out of a taxi. The driver had insisted on helping me to the gate. That alone told me something. Wealth had a sound, a feeling, a presence. And whatever stood behind those gates belonged in a world completely different from mine. Gravel crunched beneath my shoes. A fountain splashed somewhere nearby. The scent of trimmed hedges drifted through the afternoon air. Before I could even reach for the intercom, a gate opened automatically. "Miss Bennett." A familiar voice greeted me. "One of Damien's men. We have been expecting you." My stomach tightened. Of course you have. The man laughed softly. This way, please. He guided me along a stone pathway. The estate seemed enormous. I could hear birds, water, wind moving through trees. Not a single siren, not a single horn. In New York, that kind of silence felt almost unnatural. Eventually we stopped. Large doors opened. Cool air touched my skin. The scent of cedarwood immediately surrounded me. The same scent I remembered from that rainy night. My pulse quickened. Mr. Moretti is waiting inside. Then the footsteps retreated, leaving me alone. For a moment, nobody spoke. The room felt large, open, quiet. Then I heard the sound of a chair moving. You came. Damien's voice. Calm as always. Somehow deeper in person. You left me an address. I hoped you would be curious. You seem very confident about what I will do. A pause followed. Then, unexpectedly, he said, only when it comes to you. The answer unsettled me more than it should have. Why? I asked. Why all of this? Silence. I could hear him walking slowly across the room. Not toward me. Around me. As if studying a puzzle. Do you remember anything from before you lost your sight? He finally asked. The question caught me off guard. Very little. What do you remember? I thought carefully. Voices. Sounds. A swing set. Wind chimes. The room became completely still. My heartbeat accelerated. Why? I asked again. Because I remember those things too. Every muscle in my body froze. What are you talking about? For several seconds he did not answer. Then I heard something placed gently onto a table nearby. A photograph, perhaps. 20 years ago, he said quietly. There was a little girl who used to sit beneath a maple tree every Saturday afternoon. My breath caught. She could not see, but somehow she always knew when butterflies landed nearby. The room suddenly felt smaller, warmer. My pulse thundered in my ears. Because without warning, a fragment of memory surfaced. Sunshine, grass, wind chimes, a boy sitting alone, and a voice that sounded very much like mine saying, butterflies always come back. Then Damien spoke again. This time his voice carried something I had never heard before. Not power, not control. Hope. Claire, he whispered. I think you already saved my life once. For several seconds I could not breathe. The memory had vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving only fragments behind. Sunshine. Wind chimes. A lonely boy sitting beneath a tree. My hands trembled slightly. That is impossible, I whispered. Maybe, Damien said quietly. Maybe not. The room felt suspended in time. Somewhere beyond the windows, I could hear distant birds and the faint sound of water moving through the fountain outside. Everything else seemed to disappear. Tell me, I said. Tell me what happened. For the first time since I had met him, Damien hesitated. It was subtle. Most people probably would not have noticed it. But I did. When I was 15, he began, I spent one summer at a rehabilitation center outside the city. Another fragment stirred inside my mind. Freshly cut grass. Children's laughter. The creak of a swing moving back and forth. I did not want to be there, he continued. I did not want to talk to anyone. His voice remained calm, but beneath it I heard something deeper. Something older. Then one afternoon a girl sat beside me. My pulse quickened. She could not see. Silence stretched between us. She talked anyway, he said. About clouds. About music. About butterflies. I swallowed hard. The memory felt so close now. Like a door standing slightly open. You think that girl was me? I know it was. His certainty unsettled me. How can you possibly know? Instead of answering immediately, he walked across the room. I heard a drawer open. Paper shifted. Then he returned. Something was placed gently into my hands. A photograph. I could feel the smooth surface beneath my fingertips. Describe it, I said quietly. Damien remained silent for a moment. Then he spoke. There is a boy sitting beneath a maple tree. My heart pounded. And a little girl beside him. The room seemed to tilt. The girl is holding something. My voice barely worked. What? Another pause. A butterfly. My chest tightened. Suddenly, another memory surfaced. Not complete. Not clear. But stronger than before. Small hands. Warm sunlight. The feeling of something delicate crawling across my fingers. A child's voice asking, is it beautiful? Then my own laughter. I pressed a hand against my forehead. Claire. Damien's voice softened. Are you okay? I do not know. Because I truly did not. The memories felt real. Yet impossible. 20 years had passed. Entire lifetimes could disappear inside 20 years. Why did you never contact me? I asked. If you knew who I was. A long silence followed. Because I lost you. The answer surprised me. What do you mean? The center closed that year. His voice grew quieter. Families moved away. Records disappeared. People changed names. I searched for a very long time. I could hear the honesty in every word. That frightened me more than any lie could have. Because for the first time, I believed him. I believed that somehow this powerful man had spent years looking for a little blind girl he met beneath a tree. Then another thought occurred to me. One I should have asked much earlier. Why? I whispered. The room became completely still. When Damien finally answered, his voice carried something raw and unguarded. Because you were the first person who ever saw me before the world told me who I was supposed to become. His words followed me all the way home. I heard them in the rhythm of my footsteps, in the sound of passing trains, in the silence of my apartment after midnight. You were the first person who ever saw me before the world told me who I was supposed to become. Most people would probably remember the mansion, the wealth, the mystery. I remembered that sentence, because somehow it felt heavier than everything else. The next morning I sat at the piano long before the community center opened. My fingers moved across the keys automatically. Familiar melodies filled the empty room. Yet my thoughts remained somewhere else entirely. 20 years ago, a little girl, a butterfly, a lonely boy. The memories were still incomplete, but they no longer felt imaginary. Every day, another small fragment seemed to surface. A laugh, a voice, a summer afternoon beneath a tree. You are here early. Rachel's voice startled me. I stopped playing. Could not sleep. Still thinking about him. I smiled weakly. Is it that obvious? Claire, you have played the same song 3 times. I laughed softly. That bad? Worse. She sat beside me. So what happens now? It was a fair question. For the first time, I did not have an answer. Because something had changed. Before, Damien Moretti had been a mystery. A stranger. Now he felt connected to a part of my life I had forgotten existed. That realization should have made things easier. Instead, it made everything more complicated. 3 days passed. Then 4. I did not hear from him. No gifts arrived. No messages. No mysterious envelopes. The silence should have been comforting. Instead, it felt strange. Like waiting for the next chapter of a story that had suddenly stopped. By Friday evening, I found myself standing outside the arts center after another performance. The air carried the first hint of autumn. Cool and crisp. Leaves rustled somewhere nearby. The audience had already gone home. Rachel was locking the front doors when she suddenly stopped. Claire. What? Do not turn around too fast. My pulse quickened immediately. Why? She lowered her voice. Because someone is standing across the street. I already knew the answer. Somehow I knew. Is it him? Silence. Then Rachel exhaled. Yes. My heart skipped. What is he doing? Nothing. Nothing. He is just standing there. I frowned. That is strange. Claire. Her tone softened. I do not think he realizes how strange it looks. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Traffic moved through the city. A distant siren echoed several blocks away. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked. Life continued as normal. Yet I became intensely aware of one fact. Damien was there. Watching. Not approaching. Not interrupting. Just present. What does he look like? I asked quietly. Rachel hesitated. Honestly, yes. He looks like a man who spent 20 years searching for something and is still afraid it might disappear. The answer caught me completely off guard. Before I could respond, another memory surfaced. Stronger than all the others. A summer afternoon. Wind, chimes moving in the breeze. A boy sitting beside me. Sad. Silent. Lost. Then my younger voice speaking clearly. If you ever get lost, I will find you again. My breath caught. The memory felt real. Entirely real. Across the street, Damien remained exactly where he was. Waiting. Watching. And for the first time, I began to wonder if he remembered those words too. The memory stayed with me for days. If you ever get lost, I will find you again. I could still hear the little girl's voice inside my head. My voice. Young. Certain. Innocent. The strange thing was that I believed it now. Not because Damien had told me a story. Not because of an old photograph. Because every memory that returned felt less like imagination and more like coming home. A week later, I found myself sitting across from one of the best eye specialists in New York. The appointment had been arranged quietly. Efficiently. I already knew who was responsible before the doctor spoke a single word. Medical technology has changed dramatically over the last 20 years, he explained. There is no guarantee, but there may be options available today that did not exist when you were a child. My heart pounded. Hope was a dangerous thing, especially when you had learned to live without it. You mean I could see again? I asked softly. Possibly. One word. Possibly. Yet it changed everything. The following months passed in a blur of consultations, tests, specialists, and long conversations. Through all of it, Damien remained exactly who he had always been. Present, patient, never demanding, never pushing. Sometimes he sat quietly while I practiced piano. Sometimes we walked through city parks while I listened to him describe the colors of autumn leaves. Sometimes we simply talked. About childhood, about regrets, about dreams neither of us had ever shared with anyone else. For the first time in my life, I felt understood. Not pitted, not protected, understood. Then came the morning of the procedure. The hospital room felt unusually quiet. Rachel sat beside me holding my hand. Damien stood somewhere nearby. I could sense him without trying. The familiar scent of cedarwood. The calm presence that somehow made every room feel steadier. You do not have to be afraid, he said quietly. I smiled. Easy for you to say. A soft laugh escaped him. Fair point. The procedure itself passed quickly. Then came the waiting. Days later, I sat on a hospital bed while a doctor prepared to remove the protective bandages. My pulse hammered against my ribs. Rachel was crying already. I could hear it in her voice. You are going to be fine, she whispered. The room felt impossibly still. Then the bandages came away. At first there was only light. Bright. Overwhelming. Beautiful. I blinked repeatedly. Shapes appeared slowly. Colors followed. The world emerged piece by piece. Blurred outlines became clearer. Faces began taking form. Tears filled my eyes immediately. Not because of fear. Because after all these years, I was finally seeing the world I had spent my entire life imagining. Then my gaze settled on a man standing near the window. Tall. Broad shoulders. Dark hair. Eyes that carried more emotion than words could ever explain. He looked exactly the way his voice sounded. Strong. Steady. Unbreakable. And yet in that moment, he seemed nervous. Almost afraid. Damien, I whispered. His eyes closed briefly. Relief washed across his face. The kind of relief that only comes after carrying something for far too long. Slowly, he stepped closer. Neither of us spoke. We did not need to. Because suddenly another memory returned. Complete this time. A summer afternoon beneath a maple tree. A lonely boy sitting beside a blind little girl. A butterfly landing gently on her hand. And a promise carried across 20 years. If you ever get lost, I will find you again. Tears slipped down my cheeks. You kept looking, I whispered. Damien smiled softly. I told you, he said. Butterflies always come back.